Came in with CPM Reviews here, and I've got a review for you. This is the review of DC Animation's newest project, Justice League vs. the Fatal Five. Justice League vs. the Fatal Five was directed by Sam Liu, who's directed a bunch of DC animated projects. It also stars 3 voice actors from the original Justice League, and that would be George Newbern, Kevin Conroy, and Susan Eisenberg playing the role of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. It also stars Diane Guerrera as the newest Green Lantern, and Elias Gable, who plays Starboy. There are some other people in there, but they are not super integral to the story. Essentially, the Fatal Five from the 31st century have come to the 21st century for reasons that they have not let known yet. Starboy has hitched a ride onto their time travel mechanism, and he's there to try and stop the Fatal Five. He enlists the help of the Justice League in a roundabout way, and they have to come together and stop them from enacting whatever plan that they've come up with. That's your story in a nutshell. So I'm going to go over how I like the story, action visuals, that sort of thing. And I've got some bad news for you guys. Story's not that great. It should have gone through a couple more revisions before it finally made it to this final version, because there are holes in this story. There are quite a few. And as I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, did they not catch that? Or I was thinking to myself, why are the good guys doing things this way? It doesn't make sense. Why are the bad guys doing things this way? It doesn't make sense. I found some of the execution of what the characters were doing to be flawed, and not just like slightly flawed, but huge. The story itself and the motivations make sense, but everything else after that, just I had so hard of a time enjoying it because of those. It really reminded me of Justice League Unlimited Season 1, the one that most people don't talk about for obvious reasons. Everybody, as far as voice acting is concerned, does a pretty good job. Diane, who is actually in Doom Patrol playing Crazy Jane, does a good job as this newest Green Lantern. I just had a hard time rooting for her. Not to say that she was acted bad, but I feel like you get introduced to her, and you are introduced to something that's wrong with her, but you never really get a chance to know her. So if something happens to her, I don't have an emotional connection with this character. And it's almost the same with Starboy, who is played by Elias Gable. We are introduced to him, we are introduced to what is wrong with him, and then things happen, and it's just hard to care about the character. And I think that's a problem with the story. As far as voice acting is concerned, the veterans feel like they're just going through the motions, and not in that, oh my gosh, I remember how cool this was, but more like, I've done this voice forever, I can do this in my sleep. And sometimes it feels like that. Maybe that's an issue with the script that they were given, or maybe it's because Andrea Romano's not there. I don't know. And I'm not saying that it felt wooden, it just didn't feel real, if you get what I'm saying. As far as the action sequences, the fighting is fine. It's just what happens in between the fighting that just feels awkward, if that makes sense. Overall, I wish that I could say that I had a great time with this, especially with some of these original voice actors in here, but nostalgia's not enough to save it from a less than mediocre time. The grade that I'm going to give Justice League vs. the Fatal Five is a 52, and the story is what really hurts this movie. If the story was more polished, if it didn't have so many gaps in what people do, I would have had a much better time. If we were more introduced to these characters to the point to where we cared about the ones that we didn't know as well, I would have had a much better time. But unfortunately, that was executed poorly, and maybe that comes down to the directing. I'm not sure. but everything just feels either lackluster or barely mediocre, and it's kind of a miss because DC Animation is usually on their game. Hopefully the next one that we see will be back up to par. So that's my review of Justice League versus the Fatal Five. Tell me what you guys thought about it in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends on Facebook and Twitter, and as always, this is Cameron with CBN Reviews. We'll see you next time.